What's up, guys? I'm Neiko from Counts Customs. Check out Bill's Cool Projects on YouTube. Take it easy.
Hey folks, thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel. In this video, I think it's part 8 of the restoration of the thing, and a lot of progress, and we'll be covering the back end of the car this time, the driveline, transmission, and getting everything ready for the engine to go back in, new axles, and some other stuff. So please subscribe, ring the bell, hit the like button. Please send this video on to any friends that may be interested, and let's get to it. I'm going to tackle the union here between the shift rod on the transmission nose and the shift rod. And see this old crusty one, it's been in there for 47 years, whatever, all the rubber's hardened up on it, and doesn't work that well. So I like using this urethane modern type union by Empy, and it is a 165105, I guess. I'll put the link in the description. And it really does a nice conversion. So to take this out, I already have my transmission out, and I had this bolt here. But take the bolt out, and then you're going to have to take your shifter out and then slide your tube forward to disconnect it. And this is a, what is that, an 8mm, and just work the side of it right here. And take these two little bolts out of the side, and it's easy to do. So a nice conversion for you if you have an older Volkswagen, any type. They all use the same. Alright, the new linkage is in. And what I like doing too is sliding the shift rod tube forward and putting grease onto the shift rod, because up in there, you probably can't see it, there's actually a bushing that's a real bear to change. If you want to see how to change it out, look at my playlist. I have another video, it's underneath the probably the 74 Super Beetle that I did on how to change out that bushing. But put a little bit of grease on there, slide it forward, and this is just more evidence that it's only an 11,000 mile car. This morning's project is get this transmission out of here, and it's real nice that somebody torched out the cross member back here, and I was able to make it a bolt in. So, man, this is so nice. Just move it in like the old buses, and just get right in here at the transmission. But anyway, you can see the CV joints are all torn up. And I think I mentioned already that I just got new axles. 99 bucks, you get new axles instead of screwing with replacing the boots and repacking them, and probably have a pitted ball in the CV joint. So anyway, I need to take out these bolts, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. And just on both sides, there's 6 of them, along with a torque plate. And that'll be it. And then disconnect the shift linkage, and then undo the bolts, and this transmission comes right out of here. And I can see what kind of damage is done, because you look up underneath, it kind of has some kind of urethane or something, or some kind of fiberglass coating on there. So I'm wondering if the case is cracked and somebody tried to seal it up. So we'll find out here in a bit. So to get those bolts out of the axle, you need one of these 4-piece triple square bit socket set. So it's called a triple square. And the end of the bit, if I can get it in on it, is this one here. So this is the size. You get a packet of 4. I think I got this at Advanced Auto. You could also get it on Amazon, and made by TEQ. And I'll see if I can put a link on Amazon for it. So, and it is a metric. I took the transmission out, found out what was wrong with it when I pulled the oil plug out. The oil plug on these is a magnet, So when you go to change your oil, if you see a lot of metal, there's a problem with the transmission. So when I drained the oil, pulled out the drain plug and the magnet, and there was a ton of metal attached to it. So most likely that's what caused the death of this thing. It only had 11,000 miles on it, but something got buggered up in the transmission, and it was parked in a barn for 40 years. And I guess somebody along the way stole the motor out of it, the engine, and the rest is history. And then I got it. So anyway, picked up a rebuilt transmission at Painter's Grinding. That heavy-duty transmission, they beef it up over stock. So I'm going to get this all cleaned up, core sealed, new shocks on it, and I'm going to pull the axles out. Hey guys, today's project is pulling the drums off and pulling the rear axles out, popping the bearings out, repacking the bearings, putting new seals into the axles. So Volkswagens are pretty simple to do. The biggest thing is breaking the outer nut loose. You have to pull the carter pin out and then bust that loose with probably a long piece of pipe, crowbar, or whatever. And then next thing is I have new bump stocks, so I'll get rid of these things that are all messed up. Chop those out. I have new shocks. So basically strip this all down. I have new brake cylinders for the rear. And the brake line doesn't look too bad here, but I think I'm going to replace it all, replace the rubber, so all the brake lines are going to be brand new. So remove the bearing cap, the back plate, took all the brakes off, emergency brake, and you could see the contamination inside here. There's like grit inside here. Even though this thing only has 11,000 miles on it, you could see where the seal basically just rotted. So if you have a 1974 Beetle or Volkswagen and you haven't done this, you need to spend some money probably to pull that cap off or replace the seal. So next thing is I'll take the spacers out and then pound the axle out. So now for the greasy part, there's a spacer in here that should come out like so. This is the rear seal kit that you get for the Volkswagen swing axle type Beetle. You have your two outer rings, your two inner seals, new washers, and then your seals for the bearing cap, which is this guy right here. I'm going to have to pound out. So just put this on a table on a vise and just pound that seal out from behind. You're good to go. And then you have your castle nut cotter pins. Axles are out on both sides. Took the bearing out. I'll repack it, clean it, and then put the new seals in, put the axles back in, and then here's what they look like here. There's the passenger side, and here's the driver's side. And it's got one of the races on it. So anyway, got it all cleaned up and ready to get everything greased up, get the seals in, and put them back in. Got the stub axle out of the rear. This is from the driver's side, and typically once your seals leak, it starts shooting grease all over and gets it all gunked up. So what I do is take a screwdriver out and get the heavy stuff and then use my wire brush. But I had a problem with the driver's side stub axle. Too tight going into the bearings. Somebody had messed up the threads on the end, so you got to be real careful with these threads. They're real delicate on the castle nut. So my buddy at thingparts.com, I give them a shout out. Mike over there has helped me with the whole project, getting all the parts that were missing, like the engine cover and a bunch of other stuff, the air dams in the back, and he's a great source. So if you're rebuilding a Thing, that's all he does is Volkswagen Things 73 and 74. He's back in New York, but give Mike a call if you need anything. Again, I'll put a link in the description for thingparts.com. So after you have your washer and your O-ring slid back, one side of this has like a small chamfer that's going to compress that O-ring, and then the other side does not, and it has this bevel on it. So I want to make sure that that goes back. Last step is this O-ring that comes in the kit. It's the bigger one. So to kind of recap, we have the washer that comes with the kit, which when I pulled this wheel off didn't have one. Put that on first, the O-ring, and then make sure that the chamfer is on the outside here. And you can see that little bevel, make sure that's on the outside, and the inside has a chamfer that goes around the O-ring. The next step is critical, and biggest reason why these things leak. Make sure the backing plate's on good and tight, kind of push it on, and this O-ring is going to go around the outside, the very outside ring of this, and just put a little bit of grease on it. And this is going to be a little bit tricky with paper washer too, so you want to make sure that that's on there and not popping off. I've seen people in the past do this, and the O-ring pops off, they tighten it down, and it cuts the O-ring, and that's where the leak happens. And then I'm going to come back with a paper washer and go across here. And I like greasing up the paper washer a little bit, just on both sides. Just rub your finger around, put some grease on there, and you'll see it absorbing into the paper. Just a little bit on there, and it helps hold it in place. And run this around here. I want to grease the inside here, put a good coat of grease on there. And then I'm ready to put this back on. Man, after 4 tries, I got it. Alright, just kind of a recap under the back end. Got everything painted up in here, nice gloss black, clean, pressure washed, sanded. And everything in this rear end now has been rebuilt. All the brake seals for the axle stub, new brake shoes, I covered that in my last section. New shocks now, KYBs, gas shocks in the back, and the brake lines. And the next thing is the clutch cable tube and the clutch cable. So these are brand new clutch cables, and the accelerator cable you see right here. Got them all covered with a good coating of grease, because they're going to go through some angles and go through the tube, so you want that lubricated. Next thing is this bushing. It's going to go up in here, right there. And on the end of the clutch cable is going to go a Bowden tube, B-O-W-D-E-N. And what this is going to do, and I have a brand new one here that I'll show you, is that's going to go on the end there, the cable's going to go through, and what's going to happen is it's going to have a bend in it, almost 1.5 to 2 inch bend, where it goes up to the lever on the clutch. And what that does is prevents clutch chatter. When you first go into first gear, nothing's moving, and that cable will tend to wobble and create clutch chatter, and it's only going into first gear. So by putting a bend in the tube and the clutch cable up through there, it prevents that clutch chatter. But the thing is too, you want to grease it really good, because that bend, that arc in there is going to create a rub surface for the clutch cable inside this, and you definitely want to do that. So I'll grease it up really good. And then I have a new external sheathing tube for the accelerator cable. It's going to go in there and slide on there. So I'll get that on next, and hopefully get the transmission in here in a little bit. So the Bowden tube is in, and this is what it should like proper. And has the bushing. Make sure you have this bushing. And if you don't have this bushing, what's going to happen is water's going to travel down there from splashback on the wheels, and it's going to go into the center tunnel of the car. But all your rods and everything shifts through, and that might start rusting. And you can see here's the accelerator cable. Both are pushed solid onto the tubes coming out of the transmission tunnel. And this hole here is where your shifter is going to go through the nose of the transmission. It's going to go right through here. You see this round hole, and if you look onto the transmission, on the nose of it, there's a separate bushing. Make sure you put this on. It just slides on there, and it does like a compression. So When the transmission goes in, this will fold back and push up against that hole and seal any water and debris from getting into the transmission tunnel. Another thing to note on a transmission is the ground strap right here. So on the driver's side, on the front, this is the original ground strap. You see how grungy it is. Who knows, this thing's even working, falling apart. So I went to my AutoZone and got a new ground strap. Make sure you clean everything, and I like putting a little bit of lubricant on there, electric lubricant, to keep it from corroding. And if you don't put this ground strap onto the frame, what's going to happen is your starter and your engine is going to try to ground itself through the transmission. And when it does that, it's bad juju for the internals on your transmission. I guess it creates some kind of electrolysis, and transmissions have failed because of it. So make sure this ground strap is on. My 3 transmission mounts are installed, brand new soft rudder rather than the hard stuff. So if you're gonna have your transmission out, get these. They're only like 30 bucks for everything. I've got my cross member all converted, rust converted and painted. And then the other mount is the rear one here that goes onto the rear of the transmission. So all brand new. So time to get this back in the car. So here's the new axles ready to go in. Here's one of the old ones. You can see how parched it is. Rubber boots gone on it. Probably got a lot of contaminants. Low mileage car, but it's not worth rebuilding these. You can get new ones for 95 bucks. So I just went ahead and did it. Avoid the mess and the grease and all that. But I've rebuilt quite a few of these in the past. But anyway, make it a little bit easier on myself. So I have these ready to go in. And I was told these are bus axles, so they're heavy duty. And take more horsepower if somebody chooses to hot rod this thing in the future. Wow, been a few hours into this project, bringing this thing back from the dead, as Mike FN Garage says, bringing things back from the dead, or Musty One, or any of those guys. But getting close to finishing up the project here, and really getting close to going for a test ride. So everything's complete. I'll get the axles in tonight, finish that up. And this thing is going to be better than new. Next thing is to drop in this motor. Total rebuilt motor, electronic ignition, new carb. I mean, it's just totally gone over, rebuilt. And watch one of my other videos. I'll show you how to go through it and rebuild it and pull the heads. And this only takes maybe 15-20 minutes to put it back into the car. And then I'll got the electrical, put the wheels back on it, and take it for a test drive.